For loop, no, yeah, JSON payload. So to do a JSON payload, what did I do here is, so if I'm using the same thing, using bean shell, I have to use a string payload. The same thing here. If I want to use this using a bean shell code to define the same items. Here I have, I'm building it in Groovy, right? So I don't want, I want to manage the strings, I want to manage the escape characters, but the same thing. So for example, if I'm, we all know about the JSON code, right? It has the values in it. So for example, if, just for example, like if I'm having a value called string payload, the same thing which I'm giving here, but I'm giving it how we do it in the bean shell, equals, and I have to escape the double quotes using a / ID, and then another / and then another / sorry, and 1 2 3 forward slashes, and then yeah, / name, and yeah. So this is the format if you are using, or if you are trying to get some JSON value. So just imagine how many double quotes you have, how many forward slashes, sorry, backslashes you have. So just imagine the amount of confusion it creates. So how many you have to manage the codes, you have to manage the escape characters when you're trying to get some value using the bean shell. But just imagine when you're using it, the same thing using Groovy. It's just going to be very, very simple, right? All you're going to do is you're going to define your value in a payload, and you're going to use a JSON builder. Just define ID equals 1 2 3, and the name is going to be John. Just that. But just imagine the same thing. If you make some, if you miss any of the double quotes, or if you miss any of the uh, backward slashes, it will definitely throw a lot of error, and you might not know if it is just one line, you're able to see it, but if it is like multiple lines, you definitely do not know where did you miss that. So that's the amount of it actually reduces the complexity in terms of using it, right? So when I run this one, enable, okay, it's enabled already. Yep, did I enable this one? Okay. Obviously, yep. So here you can see it has been displayed very in a very simple fashion. But just imagine the same amount of effort that we manage to get all these values, like in terms of handling it. So that's the difference between using Bean Shell and your Groovy script. Let's move to the next one here. So yeah, it's definitely its readability, and when it comes to integration, Groovy is 100% interoperable with Java. So you can import and you can use any Java class, which we have discussed already. And let me just quickly show you an example for that as well. Do I have? Yeah, I have it here. Let me bring it here. I'm using, I'm importing. I mean, I'm not just making any special random functions for Groovy. All I'm using is I'm utilizing the same java.util.random, which is again a jar file or a library which has been used by Java. The same class, the same method, everything is same. So I mean, we all know to define a method, we use the new random of in Java, right? So same thing. So I'm defining a variable which is random, and I'm creating a method for that, and then um, I'm again defining a number and random dot next int of 100, and then finally I'm printing this value. I'm just storing this in the number variable, and I'm using it for my testing. So let me just enable this one here. Yep, so I got the value, right? Yep, so I got different values. So that's how. So just imagine how much ease it is. Like I'm not creating any variables. I'm not creating any libraries or any other functions. All I'm just using is 100% what I have built in Java. So if you have little knowledge in Java, you can very well use it. Even if you don't have it, it's going to be so simple. So it's not going to be a big deal when it comes to using it. So all you can just do it, you can just Google and get the answers for that. And then the built-in JMeter context access, because Groovy gives us direct access to built-in JMeter objects. As I told you, we can use we saw that, right? The vas.get, vas.put, and vas.remove. So same thing. We have got vars, we have got props. So this is to read and write the properties. So if you have any properties, you can read and write them. And properties, and then we do have log, and this is used for debugging. For debugging, you can use these. And then we have ctx. So this is to access the JMeter context. So we might have used this in several scenarios to access the JMeter context. So by doing all this, we can actually use we can actually effectively use these. So this one is to get and set. I mean, get, set, remove. What other options we have? So get, set, remove variables. So by doing all this, we can actually effectively use the Groovy scripting. On top of that, by using Groovy, we can define functions, we can use if-else loops, and we can even import helper classes as well. We can break larger scripts into pieces, and we can reuse the logics. So just to give you a quick recap on what we have discussed so far. So when it comes to Groovy, the performance, so it's very faster. It has low memory usage. The syntax are very clear. So even we have seen an example with JSON. So it's very clear syntax. It's very easier to read and write. And when it comes to reusability, it's very modular, and the scripts are very easy to maintain. And when it comes to Java integration, we have got the full power of Java along with Groovy. And when I say full power of Java, I can use the entire classes, the entire library from Java, and you can use it. And it's very friendly, where we can use with vars. When I say like vars to get, put, or to store, or to remove any variables. When it comes to props, you can use it to access the JMeter properties. And when it comes to CTX, you can use it uh, to access the JMeter context. And when it comes to log, you can use it for debugging. Um, so let me get this one here for you. Okay. So let me give you a quick example. So in case if you are if you want to test uh, uh, a kind of an assertion, I would say. So if you want to do it, you can actually very well test the response code as well. So I even have a code as well. I think that sampler, not this one. Okay, I think I don't have it now, but for now, yeah. You can actually use it to get the response of your previous request, and then you can use it to make some assertions. Like if the response code is 200, you can consider that as a successful page, and then you can move to the next item. Because when you're running a very big load test, you are supposed to use assertions to make sure that all the pages are properly loaded. So in that case, you can use that as an assertion as well, where you can read the value from the previous response code. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. No.
Okay, no problem. Yeah. So now we'll move to the next slide. So what are the performance? Okay, we saw about the performance advantage. Like it's very simple. Okay, let me tell you this one, a very quick scenario before we move to the next one. So if you're running a JMeter test with like 100 threads and 10 loops for each thread, so each iteration will run a script that multiplies two numbers. So in that case, you're going to run like, okay, 100 threads. multiplied by 10 loops, you're going to run like 1000 scripts, right? When it comes to bean shell, I have already told you. So how much time does it take? So it's going to be like taking 12 times higher than what the Groovy does. So why Groovy is faster? And the reason is how JMeter is handling each engine, because the way JMeter handles bean shell is completely different from how it handles Groovy, because it's kind of an internal working. Because okay, we saw all that interpreter thing and everything is done. Okay, let me just go to the next slide then.
What would be the interpreter like, Vasant?
Interpreter is something like an engine, a kind of a code which runs in a JMeter. So what happens is every time when we use bean shell, it compiles the code every time because it does not have a kind of a storage thing. So what happens is it doesn't even create a kind of a temporary storage to get the compiled value. But for Groovy it does, because we all know JMeter is built on Java, and Groovy uses the Java libraries. So they all are built on the same set of steps or same set of pipelines. So that is actually advantage of using Groovy when it comes to JMeter in terms of the compilation part. So you don't need to compile it every single time because they get stored in the memory, or they get cached. That the compiled value gets cached. But when it comes to Bean Shell, they get stored in the memory. So what happens is when you're using cache, you're not going to use the memory, but when you're actually using the memory, you're going to what to say, expose more and more of memory, which is going to effectively use more memory, which will in turn reduce the performance of your system, and it will turn improve the increase the response times when it comes to Bean Shell. And let me go to the next slide here. Yeah, I think these are some of the best practices. I'll tell you. Um, so always use Groovy for complex logics. And if you're using some looping conditions for calculations, yes, we can very well use it. And if you want to create any dynamic parameters, yes, we can very well use the Groovy. And if you want to make some API header cookie token generations, yes, we can very well use that. And when it comes to correlation logic in post processors, yes, we can very well use the Groovy. And when it comes to okay, there were several ways where we can uh, migrate your bean shell. So as I told you previously, so um, in your interview you can tell them that I have migrated my bean shell to Groovy step by step. So how did I do that? So let me just go back to my whiteboard. So this is one way where you can tell them that how did you do it. There are a few steps to do that. Let me just quickly show that to you. So the first step is you have to locate all the, just change it here, migrate from bean shell to Groovy. So because this in several organizations is happening because you don't want to use bean shell anymore. So how are you going to migrate? So the first step is finding the bean shell code. And for that, you have to locate all the bean shell samplers, like how we have for JSR223, we do have bean shell samplers as well. And then the pre-processors, the pre the preprocessors, and then we do have post processors in a test plan. So the second step is we have to replace the element. So when I say replace, you have to replace that with the JSR223. So if you're having JSR223 bean shell sampler, you're going to replace that with the appropriate JSR223 items, elements. So you're going to replace it with the JSR223 elements, the appropriate one, and then the next thing is you're going to update the scripting language to Groovy. So by doing all this, you can very well easily migrate from Bean Shell to Groovy. And again, we all know the query, the code is very simple when it compares to Bean Shell. So you can very well do that. So update the scripting language to Groovy. So by doing all this, you can easily, so you can tell them that, okay, I have changed. It's not just changing only the language, but it also involves in changing the code as well. Um, so this is an example. What else we have? Okay, let me give you an example here. So if you do have, let me get this one. Okay, if you have a bean shell sampler here, and then you do have a JSR23 sampler. So you're going to convert your code from bean shell to JSR23 sampler. So let me start you with a quick example. So in case if you have like in bean shell log.info, um, printing the logs, and you have your colon. So same thing, how will you make it to JSR23? So the same thing is you have to change the language to Groovy, and then the next part is going to remove the colon, right? So that's one simple thing. So it's going to be same, but Groovy is very cleaner because you don't need a no semicolon is required, right? So that's the first step. And then when it comes to setting up a variable, so it goes like this. So vars dot put of user ID, comma, Little's law. Again, closing it, and then, sorry, semicolon. When it comes to JSR23 sampler, it's so simple. It's okay. Let me just copy it from there so I can easily show you the difference. Same thing. Uh, we're going to just remove the semicolon, and it's very shorter and it's better for the code. It's very simple to read. And then the next thing is when it comes to defining a variable. So if you want to define a variable, like for example, if you want to define an integer or something, here you define it as integer, number, or for example string, host. But when it comes to JSR23 sampler, it's very simple. You're going to define it as define number or define host. You don't need to worry about um, the variable type, whether it's going to be integer or a string or an array or whatever it is. It's going to be very simple. All you're going to just give is just define def, just that, right? So that's how it's very simple. So that's how you can tell them that I have converted, right? So just to have an understanding. So the problem is uh, some of the common mistakes that we do, which we want to avoid, is instead of using Java imports manually, what we can do is we can actually do auto import through Groovy. So just use the import statement. So they actually import the Java libraries or the files inside the Groovy, and make sure that you're switching the language to Groovy when you're doing your switching. And then instead of using any of these other println or other bean shell commands, you can use the log.info, or you can use return, where you can use it to return the values. And then you completely can forget the semicolon. You don't need to use any of your colon because semicolons, because Groovy is completely cleaner. It completely works without any colon. And yeah, just that. So this is again, I think most of the people might not share these information because in several scenarios we have to use it. And these definitions, this is very important because you're not going to use it in Groovy. You're not going to worry about the integer or string. All you're going to just define the variable and you're going to use it, just that. And what else we have? Okay, it not just about only the numbers. You can actually use the name. When it comes to Groovy, eventually you have to use it as a string, but when it comes to Groovy, you can just define the name and you can print it. And if it is a array, so you can just list it 1, 2, 3, and you can print it. So you don't need to worry about bringing in, you need to worry about what kind of variable method is that, what kind of variable object is that. Just give whatever you want to do, you can just print it. It's kind of, I would say, in my experience, I would say it's more like a Python code. You don't need to worry about what variable type it is, right? And if it comes to key value pairs, so you can just use it like value 1, and then the pair for it, it's key 2. So it'll be value 2. Yep, just that. So just imagine how simple it is, how easy it is to manage. You don't need to do any complex way to maintain the code. So it's so simple, it's so easy to convert it, so easy to even create it, right? What else? Okay, so far we saw about how to add the samplers, how to use the Groovy script, how to use the Groovy code in it, and what else we have? Okay, let me give you a few examples in terms of configuring, in terms of adding scripting. Let me just give you quick. So any doubts in terms of Groovy or in terms of Bean Shell? So it's going to be very basic because I don't want to bring in too much in the very first day of Groovy. So this is the very basics which I wanted to share, which I wanted to let you know in terms of Groovy. Like the very basics. Like I'm not sure whether if you already known that, I'm very happy. If it is new for you today, then I'm really happy that I have shared all this information to you in terms of defining the variables, in terms of what are the variables we have got, what are the methods we have got with the variables, the CTX, the properties, and everything. We are going to see more, but for now, is it okay for you to understand? Like, are you okay? Are you how comfortable are you now in terms of Groovy?
Yes, seems learn new things.
Mhm. Okay.
And the Java part also was some like whatever the some functionality works in
Mhm.
Java, so they will also work in Groovy as well, correct?
Exactly. Yeah, they're going to use in Groovy. You can
Okay.
use all 100%. You can use all the methods. 100% you can use all the jar. Uh, if you want to compile anything, if you want to bring anything, you can just import the jar file and you can use it directly. So you're not going to make anything else. But when it comes to Bean Shell, it's not like that way. Anything else? We can sign off for today, and then we can. There are much more to look into it, like how are we going to use logics, how are we going to use looping, and working with the list. So we're going to see all of these, but we'll see it some other time. But for now, I just want to stop with this because this is the maximum which I can push one single day in terms of Groovy. So if you really like it, just let me know in the comment section, or you can let me know in the chat as well. In the next session, if you have any expectations, if you want to cover any areas, you can let me know, or else I am having a plan, like I told you. We can cover the next level, which is how are we going to use loopings, the conditions, the collections, and we're going to see much more. Yeah, see, I completely agree that if you go to ChatGPT or whatever, you can just give the conditions and then they give you the code. But the point is just understand the basics, and then you can use all of these. That's my recommendation, I would say. Um, so yeah, if anything you have to share me, you can just share me. Otherwise, we can close for the day, and then we can we can connect some other time next week or after that. Yeah, thank you, Chandrasekhar, for your comments. Thanks, everyone. I'll share the video shortly in our channel. You can watch it if for those who have joined very late, or for those who want to revise it. And I will even upload the code in. Thanks, Chandrasekhar. I'll even upload the code in my GitHub repo. You can take it from there for your reference. You can use all these methods and everything if you want to really use it. And thank you so much. See you all very soon. Take care. Cheers. Bye bye.